Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lunchtime Special Podcast, a show about life, death, and everything in between. We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Lunchtime Special Podcast, and today we're talking about all things virtual. And on the panel today we have Atish.
Abstraction in place. Hi everyone.
Ian.
Hello everyone.
Andre.
Hello.
And Brad.
Hello.
In this virtual world that we live in, people like Andre have been muted twice because they virtually exist on the physical plane and the virtual plane. But today we're talking about all things virtual. When it comes to virtual, we think of computer games, we think of virtual reality, we think of even television and movies. They are technically virtual as well. So everyone here has probably played a computer game at least once in their life, some more than others. I don't call myself a gamer. I've definitely spent hours playing many games in the past. In my experience, virtual games, or games in general, a bit of an escape from reality, and it's always been a way of either relaxing or just enjoying time with friends. I've experienced some VR with the Oculus Rift, and I found that interesting, just crashing a plane to the ground several times and feeling the fear of almost dying, even though I actually wasn't going to do any death in that scene. So, Ian, what's your experience with the virtual world?
I will say that I've mostly been a gamer in the console sense, not with a virtual reality headset or anything like that. I guess the idea does kind of entice me in some ways, but I've just probably been too lazy to do it. But I guess for me, in terms of specifically related to gaming, yes, as an escape, but also as a way to do things that I will probably never do, mostly because I'm physically incapable. For example, I play a ridiculous amount of FIFA. I will never be a footballer, but I just never stop playing it. I will never be a football manager, but I never stop playing. I guess it's that whole being able to put yourself in someone else's shoes. You know, you're never going to be a Templar knight from the 200 BC fighting zombies and trying to save the princess from Mario, probably. So yeah, it's a way to live things that you would never get to experience, in a way.
Atish, growing up in India and having a slightly different skew on life because of the culture and the physical place you lived in, what's your experience with the electronic virtual world and the non-electronic virtual world?
I mean, as Ian shared one of his experiences about playing different games, like, for example, FIFA. My childhood, I think I have experienced the age where things were moving from Windows, DOS, like command-based games, to more GUI-rich interfaces of the games. So, yeah, I was like 10 or 12 when I first saw Mario being played, and that was an amazing experience to see. And then Contra, where you're having two guns with two tiny bits jumping and rolling and killing and a lot of, it's kind of, I think it was quite thrilling, and that was a whole new world, being a virtual world. However, that was so much enticing, as Ian said, that it just captivated us. It captivated me personally, and then that got extended to Taken 3 game, if you guys know about, where, different fighters with great user interfaces, great sound effects, great 3D views, and great high number of moves to kill the opponent, right? That gives you more close proximity, and that adrenaline rush, that captivated me personally. So I think, yeah, being even in India, I think no market in this world, possibly North Korea, give credit to Kim, if they do not have this. Otherwise, I think most of the globalized nations, the children and the young people, the game lovers, the virtual reality lovers, they have all the masalas they need. So yeah, this is my experience.
Andre, coming from the Czech Republic, what's your experience with the virtual?
Mind it, you're going to trigger an explosion of the virtual world. Come on, Ray.
Yeah. For me, gaming started back in the late 90s when I bought my first 486 for $50. Commander Keen was the rage of that time, being not really a console gamer. All my mates were into consoles. Probably the game that I remember blew my mind was when Duke Nukem 3D came out. Back in, I can't even remember when it was about 99, 2000. Just thinking how much better the graphics in that game were than Commander Keen was, like in only 2 or 3 years before. The virtual stuff, I adapted to the 3D gaming phenomenon, which was all the rage about 7 or 8 years ago, which really didn't take off in Australia. Not much places around the world did it. And the virtual world, I'm about to dive headfirst into it, thinking of getting the Oculus Rift, because I've got two games on Kickstarter that are coming in the next 2 or 3 months, which are both VR visual novels. And yeah, I'm been a massive fan ever since watching one of my favourite animated features, which was Sword Art Online, Ordnance Scale, which made me laugh because it's got both, not just the VR stuff, but AR as well, so augmented reality, VR. So I think in the next maybe 10 or 15 years, I hope everyone's there chasing each other with the virtual reality headsets and trying to sort of fire at each other in a controlled environment, so they're not, running out onto the street to get hit by a car or something like that. But yeah.
So Brad, are you a Pokemon Go fan?
No. So when I was younger, I used to use it as an escape. So when I was like a little kid, I had the Commodore 64 sitting there for, half an hour typing commands before you could actually play a game. But as I got older, I think I drifted further away from video gaming. I play it more similar to Ian now. So I'll play games, but not regularly. It's mainly console, and it's more, footy than that, rather than, I guess, the fantasy games or anything like that anymore.
So Ian?
So I just had a thought about one game that I played maybe 3 years ago that was similar to what you were talking about simulating flying a plane into dangerous situations. It's a game called Slender Man, and the game itself is actually ridiculously simple. All it is you're a character in the woods, and you're trying to find notes in the dark, and you're being chased by this invisible monster named Slender Man. Now, for normal people, they're probably like, okay, whatever, just being chased in the woods and no one cares. For me, I would play it on a normal computer, so no virtual reality, but lights out, so basically the rest of the room was dark, and the music, it was pretty much all you could hear, the music and being chased by Slender Man. And in the game also, it had the sound effects of heavy breathing and all that kind of stuff. I've spoken to this with a few people, and they're all just like, it's a game, whatever. Me, I'm having conniptions and heart attacks. Like every second that I think that Slender Man might catch me. I mean, it does jump scare you, like the way that when you get caught by Slender Man, it's like a loud noise and a bright light kind of thing. So it's meant to jump scare you. But I guess the reason I bring it up is because you don't need a virtual reality headset, I don't think, to have the effect of immersing yourself in a world. And I would say that's happened with plenty of games. And that's the extreme scenario, but say you're just playing, I don't know, one for me used to be StarCraft. I played on a computer, and I get so involved in the strategy that my head was nowhere else. All I could see was me trying to kill the Zerglings with the Terrans. That was all that mattered in that moment. And
Man, you were the Terrans.
man, what's wrong with Terrans? Terrans are great.
Protoss all the way.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess when we talk about virtual worlds and virtual reality, I guess I don't think that we need a 3D environment where we're fully immersed, because somehow we have this mental ability to immerse ourselves. So
is it safe to say it's not the graphics, it's not the tech, it's just whether it's actually immersive or not? So if you actually feel like you're there in some way or form and you get that emotional connection, and that's all that matters. So it's just about experiencing something and actually having almost that physical, visceral experience that you from experiencing something on the screen, whether it's right in your face in goggles or whether it's on a telly, on a laptop. It's about the experience. And we actually just want to be a part of it. And whether it's virtual or not also doesn't really matter.
Well, the brain is amazing, isn't it? So think about your childhood. You could be playing pirates with your mates out in the backyard, and just using your imagination, you get pushed into this immersive world. So I think that there's a separation between what makes video games unique versus what makes the power of the mind to, I guess, insert yourself into this alternate universe. I think it's the mind really more than anything.
Don't forget that D&D has been immersing us in that world since the 70s, just immersing yourself in a world where just basically you just play with a couple of dice and just plan out your characters and be totally immersed just with pen and paper.
So what's the difference between reading a book and playing a game?
In some ways, I don't think there is a difference. So my argument would more be that it's a visual aid. You get to use your imagination without having to be fully imaginative. It's sort of suggesting images or actions for you. Whereas when you read, you could be imagining something completely different to what the reader intended. You're following the creator's journey.
Atish, your thoughts?
Somehow I just look at things from, I try to look at things from the other way around also. So for example, the experiences, who is experiencing that is more important. One of the important key points to actually look at the degree of experience you will get into. So the who is experiencing, let's imagine your awareness is having that perceptive phenomena, perceptive activity happening. Who is experiencing? Now, as Ian mentioned, when you're a child, you have a book reading or you are playing in your backyard and you can actually get your whole Star Wars there and you can experience it into that format. However, with the different levels of your own awareness or perceptive development, the degree of experience and the quality of experience, they all start to change. For example, if your intellect is developing, your experience is more driven into intellect then. For example, if you're playing a game where you need to deal with different issues and you have to apply your intelligence, you get more thrilled. Oh, I have to apply my intelligence in 360-degree view. So the more your intellect is being pressurized in that situation, the more your experience is growing in a way. So it is other way around. It's not the graphic or thing. It's something from outside or from inside which can be a stimulus for your experience that will drive your experience to go on to the next level. It can be graphics, it can be just a reading book, and it can be just the inbuilt stimulus which can actually react to reading or seeing. But personally, I can tell you one thing, that graphics and sound effects, they now make a lot of difference. That is why 3D games are so much captivating than two-dimensional games, or actually like playing Aladdin or playing Mario. So, for example, if you look playing a 3D game, you feel like you are in the game. Now you are actually living it. That means you are not only engaged by your intellect and mind, actually you are engaged by your perception also. Before it was not the perception which was engaging in, it was just the mind and the intellect was engaging in. So I think the more yourself is being projected into it, the more proximity of being self is there, the more the degree of experience is growing by that word for that virtual experience.
So specifically talking about the difference between a book versus a game, I tend to think of in terms of actually films versus games. I think it's a pretty similar concept. So, you have things like the Batman movies, and everyone loves Batman movies. I mean, if you don't, get out. But if you want to watch the movies, that's great, and you can love watching it. But then there's something else when you play like Batman Arkham Asylum or something like that, and you are the Batman, like it is actually two completely different experiences where
I'm here.
Involve. Exactly. So Atish is actually our real Batman.
You're accountable and culpable for Batman's survival.
Yeah. Or when it's on a screen or in a book, you're empathizing. When you're playing a character, you're role-playing. Like it's kind of slightly different experience. But I mean, it's interesting how that plays out, not even just in that context, but how many books are adapted to movies. And it's not just because people are lazy and don't want to read books. It's because as great as our mind is and as imaginative as we are, sometimes we just like being told. So if we know what Harry Potter looks like and he looks like Daniel Radcliffe, we don't have to try and imagine what Harry Potter looks like, and it just makes our life a little bit easier. And that's the same within sense. I think what Atish is trying to get at with immersive 3D reality is that it's another layer where we don't have to think about, what's behind me, what's left of me, what's right of me. I can turn my head and I can see it. So, I don't know, what do you think, Spiro?
The thing with this, though, does that mean Harry Potter now, for the rest of eternity, until it's recast by another actor, will always look like Daniel Radcliffe? Like, have we, in some ways, crystallized a virtual idea, an idea in an author's mind